Welcome back to another edition of Tailgate Talk. Today is a special one. We have Pat Harper here. If you guys have not seen the news on Facebook or your local news channel, this guy saved an engagement. He found an awesome ring that fell 120 feet from a bridge at a resort, and we have him here today. Pat, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well. It's cold outside, but ready ready to get nice and warm once we get out of here. So, just to start off, man, like how was the first 24 hours? Like how did everything come about? Like how did you know about the couple? Like what happened?
So I got into work that night, and we'd probably been on shift. Our shift runs 6 to 6, and we'd probably been on shift about an hour. And I got a call from the mountain manager, um, asking me if I could shut down some snow guns in an area because a couple had dropped an engagement ring off the bridge. So I went down, and I just recently purchased a Vortex 9. So I went back out. I went down and I gridded the area where it was supposedly fell, where they had looked. I just happened to be walking towards the hydrants. Like I'd not quite given up, but I wanted to go stand there for a second and take everything in perspective and think about where it could possibly be. And as I was walking that way, I was sweeping the area, and I went over a foot track of one of my snowmakers that had gone out, checked his plume, and it chimed. And it gave me a 52 tone. So I was like, well, that could be the ring, or, could be
Yeah,
lots of other things that I found on the hill. I'd found about 7 pennies, bunch of pop cans, like.
yeah, makes
So
sense.
I dug it up, got down to the ground, and I didn't see anything, but my pinpointer was still going off. So I started scooping up some of the dirt and the loose snow that was there. And when I pulled it up in my hand, I seen something silver edge sticking out. And I was like, there's no way you just found that. And so I reached down and pulled the ring out, and
It was there. It
it
was
was
there. So
there. I couldn't believe it. I kind of stood there for a minute, and I like looked up and realized that I had been like a long ways away from where they had thought it had fallen.
oh, okay, yeah.
We have a glass section in the bridge, and they were like 3 grates off the glass. And I actually found it probably 7 or 8 grates further back, like back more towards the end of the bridge. So
Oh. So
at
you think
that
it
point,
so you think it took like a really long like tumble down when it fell, it just didn't fall straight
yeah,
down.
I think it hit like some, because we have guide cables underneath the bridge and stuff that keep it stabilized. And so I think it hit something underneath there and kind of bounced off, and then hit our hard packed snow that we had been making and rolled down and caught in the footprint.
Wow.
So that, or it was just laying on top of the snow and the guy stepped on it, pushed it down into the
Push it down.
snow.
Because yeah,
I
how
mean,
deep
it
was it?
was, what's that?
How deep was it in there?
It was probably about a foot, foot and a half.
Oh,
Like, so I'm kind of really impressed with how deep this machine pulls targets. That's why I was pretty confident that even though the snow was pretty deep, that I'd still be able to find it. Um, so I got a hold of safety and got the ring back to them, of course, because it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you don't want to. I mean, as much as probably they would have enjoyed the phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning,
yeah.
the resort waited till the morning, and then, like I said, they had just about given up. They were going to go home, and they had wrote the ring off. And their mother actually called them and said that she had a dream that the resort had found her ring, and then 30 minutes later, we called her and said that we had found her ring. So I thought the story had ended. I did like an interview for Good Morning America, and 4 days after that couple lost their ring, I got a call from the Adventure Center, the
Wow.
manager that runs it, and he was doing some technical work on the bridge and dropped his ring.
What? That's crazy. So now you have to
So
go back and find another ring
I
or
went,
what?
and this one probably only fell 20 feet or so, but it was the first target I dug. Like, he was pretty surprised that I found it that quickly, but I told him, I said, okay, now let's get a ring net underneath the bridge.
So now, hey, now you are the certified ringmaster for that resort,
Yeah.
man. Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm gonna pass it over to Steve and then kind of just talk about the rest of your story. How you got into metal detecting and everything like that. So, Steve, take it away.
All right, yeah, that's a great story, Pat. And it's funny because you talk about the rings, and it never turns out where they think it is, right? It's always
Nope.
further away.
Yep.
But you've been doing this a while, I guess. How long have you been detecting?
Probably about 15 years.
Okay.
So I quit drinking and then I moved upstate Michigan. I'm from Wyandotte originally, just south of Detroit. And I moved up here to kind of get away from everything and just, restart my life. And
It's a
I
good
ended up,
hobby just to get out and enjoy nature and,
yeah, I
clear
mean,
your mind and
I,
and look for targets, right?
I did a lot of fishing and stuff. So I moved up here and my mother-in-law had got me a machine that was probably, I want to say it was like an American Ego. It was made in Plano, Texas, so it could be like, you know what I mean, like one of the generic machines that get made for other companies. But I just was out one day, just, everybody's out partying and stuff. And I went out for the day, I think it was 4th of July, and I went out to just go metal detecting out in the woods. And I lived behind it was 157 acres, and there used to be a grain mill back there. So I figured, money exchange hands, people lose things. The woods have been hunted for 150, 200 years. And I'd been out there probably 2 hours and hadn't found anything and was kind of getting a little discouraged, with the whole metal detecting thing. And I slipped and fell in the creek and landed on my back. And I had the sense enough at least to keep my machine up out of the water. And when I picked it up, it toned off of something. So I got up and I was not very happy, as you can imagine, to be wet and muddy. But I got up and I wiped some leaves away because I wanted to see, was it a surface target or was it something that was buried? And when I scraped the leaves away, I could see like a little dime imprint. And I thought, okay, I've crossed this spot a million times, dime that's dropped out of my pocket. I picked it up and was about to put it in my pocket when I noticed it said 1 dime on the back.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, dimes don't say 1 dime on the back. So I flipped it over to the front and there was Lady Liberty sitting there in all her glory. And I looked at the date and it was an 1891 seated.
It's something like that will really change your perspective on metal detecting, huh?
Yeah, I proceeded to stay out muddy and wet for 3 more hours.
Yeah.
And an addiction was born. And, after being out a couple times, you realize after getting used to using the machine, you start to realize that it might not be the best. So I started looking around for better machines, and there was two companies at the time that were American companies, and I wanted to stay with an American company. And after doing some research, I decided that Garrett was probably the product that I wanted to get. So I ended up purchasing an AT Pro. I got a package, came with the Garrett pinpointer and everything, book and all kinds of stuff. And I proceeded to go out with that thing. And in my first year, I'd say 150 coins that were 1930 and older.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Dug a lot of targets. There hit some spots. The resort I work on has 13 or 14 old home sites where the houses are either still standing or have recently fallen and been demolished. So I'm kind of fortunate to have some choice picking.
Right.
Um, and I have found some pretty nice targets. I also took the Vortex over to near me. There's some state land where there used to be a town and it's gone now. And everybody has picked that place over clean with metal detectors for the last 30, 40 years. And I managed to actually pull a silver thimble out of the old home site amongst a bunch of trash that I would have never thought a coil that size would have pulled.
Yeah, the
So
Vortex will do a lot. Sounds like you're kind of getting to know the machine pretty well, and after been around the AT Pro, you like what you're seeing with the Vortex, I guess, right?
I do. I do. I like the fact that it gets upgraded continuously, and the fact that, like, I got a few friends that are getting into it and they don't want to spend the money, so they can buy like the downgraded version, and if they want to spend the money later, I like the fact that you can upgrade it without having to go buy a different machine. Um, I've been looking at some smaller coils, because I do a lot of old home sites and a lot of trashy areas where there's a lot of stuff in the ground. And so, like, I like the smaller coils because they pick better in that. But I am really impressed with the machine. I've used a lot of other machines. I go to a metal detecting event downstate with Detect Michigan, a group I belong to, and they put on like a seated hunt, and it's almost not fair sometimes.
Well, you've got some pretty good experience. What do you think your favorite coin is you found over the years? Would it be that first seated that you found?
It's a tough choice between that and they did a road tear out in Boyne Falls here where I work, and I was searching where they were dumping all the dirt because I was finding a lot of nice old jugs and bottles. And I came across a really scratchy, trashy 75 tone that I thought was just going to be something buried in the ground that wasn't worth it. And it was actually an 1880 something Canadian large cent.
Oh, cool. How about that?
That's cool,
I've
man.
never found a large cent before. I haven't really detected outside of Michigan yet. So like to find something like that in a road tear out, and probably 10 minutes after that, I found a second 1891 seated dime. It's not as nice condition as the one I found before, but
Yeah,
so
that's not a coin you find every day, so that's pretty awesome, you know.
no, seated's pretty rare up here, and I have a couple few spots that I go, and I took a buddy there one time and let him use my AT Pro, and he found a half dime on me.
Got the one leg up on
He
you.
found an
Your
1846
buddies are
half
probably getting
dime.
tired of hearing about you being the TV star here lately, aren't they?
It's not too bad. Yeah, it's everybody's kind of called me up and hey, and it's been quite the experience. I'll say. I wouldn't want to be a famous person for life.
Well, use it to your advantage. Say, look, I'll help find the lost stuff you got at your farm, but let me dig your farm while I'm out there, you know?
Yep. And
Exactly.
and that's a lot of stuff that I do around here locally. I do stuff like that. I'm joined with Ring Finder, and people that know me pass my number around, and people that are local, I do go out and help them. And I do rock hounding and I do beekeeping for hobbies, so I'm a busy person, but I always got time to go help people. I think if more people were like that in the world, if we all just helped each other, like, it'd be such a great place.
Agree.
Absolutely. Well, Greg will probably wrap it up here in a second. I guess my last question to you, Pat, would be if somebody's thinking about getting into metal detecting, what advice do you have for getting the machine and how to get started and where to start looking?
Get something, don't go too overboard at first, because like you can go buy the top end machine, but it's going to be a lot harder to learn. I learned on a pro, and I did a lot of digging of everything. I fully encourage digging every target. You never know what it's going to be. I've had numbers that I thought for sure were just going to be trash that turned out to be great items, and I've had trash numbers that you know, so it's just start slow, dig it all, get to know your machine. No matter what type of machine you have, get to know it, like learn it. I do a lot of stuff sometimes when I got the new Vortex, I took a bunch of old coins that I have out and I just dug some sand up and buried them and let them sit for a couple days to kind of, create a test bed,
Yeah.
and then just went over them just to kind of see, what sounds like what's different tones, and it doesn't take you long to learn. The most important thing is just taking the time to learn your machine and knowing its limits and not getting frustrated. I've been in areas where I had no clue why my machine was acting the way it was. There's an old ghost town that I metal detect, and there is a football field size area that acts like there's giant power wires there, but there's nothing. And every time I go through that area, the Pro just, it would just go crazy. The Vortex, I don't have that issue there in that spot with it. So I think that's the multi-frequency kind of cancels that out a little bit, but it's just a weird spot. So whether there's just a lot of metal buried in the ground there or not, and, take your time and look for good spots. My best advice is get the old plat maps. That's what I do. I look for old home sites. I look at LiDAR images. I try to find spots on state land and, or old farmsteads. There's nothing like going up to a farmer that's mowing his field and asking him when he's done if you can just go over
Yeah.
top of it. Like that's
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Great advice, Pat. Thanks a lot, Greg. I'll let you wrap this thing up here.
Yeah, Pat, thank you for coming on and doing this with us, sharing your story. We appreciate you. Glad you are, a loyal Garrett user and helping people in your city, man. So have a good day. Peace.
Thanks, man.